Because of predators in this town, I gotta make sure that I record at all points in time for my own safety. And I'm watching some stuff on George S. Patton right now. We'll see who's next. It's gonna be a total of 4 or 5 generals altogether.
The armies of two of the greatest tank commanders of the Second World War face off turret to turret in the Battle of Tunisia.
You mean the Battle of America getting their ass whipped again? Holy shit.
November 1942. At El Alamein, the British 8th Army deals a devastating blow to Field Marshal Erwin Rommel. His once mighty Africa Corps reduced to just 64 tanks.
Well, it's 9:11 p.m.
Their defeat is total, their plight desperate. The shattered remnants of Rommel's forces limp back across the desert. Pursued by the British from the east, they retreat 2,500 kilometers to Tunisia, where they face an Allied force advancing across the mountains from the west, including the fledgling U.S. 1st Armored Division. Confident and cocksure in their first combat mission of the Second World War, the Americans come armed with the latest in frontline technology, the Sherman tank.
It was trash.
The Allies' newest tank is fast, with a top speed of nearly 40 kilometers per hour, and it's powerful, with a 75mm short-barreled cannon.
Of course, they were
And El
fighting
Alamein
against,
proved itself a winner, and in Tunisia, the American tankers are riding high on expectation.
people who knew what the fuck they were
We thought we
doing.
had the best equipment and everything. We thought we were well prepared. I had no fear.
The Allies land an impressive initial force of more than 400 tanks, 100 tank destroyers, and 70,000 men. But the American tankers have yet to be tested in the heat of battle and the cauldron of war. For all their bravado, they are rookies still.
We certainly were. We had no actual combat experience. It was a big handicap.
For Rommel, the problem is a dire shortage of men and arms. But he's thrown a lifeline when the 5th Panzer Army lands in Tunisia, bringing with them powerful anti-tank guns and long-barreled Panzer IVs.
In my opinion, it was possibly the best tank in the world at that time. Even better than the Sherman. We were under the impression that we were definitely going to be superior to the Americans.
By January, the Germans field 300 Panzers, over 100,000 troops, and hundreds of anti-tank guns. The fate of Rommel and his tankers hangs in the balance. Whoever wins here wins North Africa. The battle lines are drawn in the remote mountains of western Tunisia. The Germans attack first, then dig in on either side of the Faid Pass, where they wait for the Americans to launch a counterattack, which they do on January 31st. Their plan, to engage the enemy in open combat.
The general said, "Follow my orders. Attack."
I had a lieutenant as my commander of the tank. Actually, he wanted to get more bars or something, and he said, "I'll go first." So I was a driver, so we went out.
You could see the Americans attacking from the front.
We were just heading forward. We didn't know where the enemy was or anything.
I don't want to bash the Americans, but in my opinion, they were inexperienced.
In meiner Erinnerung waren sie halt
They were zero experienced.
Our 88 guns were camouflaged well in the cactus grove.
Kaktushecke.
They enticed you to come through.
And the Americans didn't see it.
And then they opened fire on us.
All die Amerikaner.
And the Americans didn't stand a chance against the 88 anyway.
The German 88 is the most lethal weapon on the battlefield. It has a 4.9-meter barrel and a muzzle velocity of 820 meters a second. With a clear line of view, it can destroy a Sherman at a range of more than 2 kilometers.
If the 88 was positioned right and camouflaged well, it was able to bring down tanks that were very far away.
The only way we outdo them is face them head on. But if they get you from the side, you're very vulnerable. Well, sometimes you didn't even know where they were coming from.
You know, when shell fire hits, it's loud. Oh, it could be 10 feet away.
I looked out there, it was like I could get out there and get a baseball bat and hit those things. One of our tanks in our company, his 75 millimeter gun was shot off. It was just like a howitzer now. It had a short barrel on it.
One after the other was brought down by the 88.
Either get out of there or get shot up. So you had to move. You couldn't be stationary. Tank commander says, well, back it up, back it up.
He said, let's get out of here. Let's get the hell out of here.
Back it up, Bill, back it up. My feet were going like this, shaking on it.
Well, he no sooner said that, and bam.
Now help me get me out of here. That was frightening.
We brought a lot of them down, so the rest of them turned around and disappeared.
As the dust settles on the mountain pass at Faid, the lessons to be drawn are there for all to see.
We thought we had the
I'm
best
gonna get out
equipment and
and
everything, but we finally
see how
found out
he
that
did
we
my
didn't.
tater wedges and chicken strips off.
At that time, we just felt we were vastly superior to them in every respect.
My hand boomers at a
But it's a
windmill.
lesson that U.S. commanders refuse to learn. And just 2 weeks later, they will send their tanks down the pass once more.
Just do our duty and follow order.
That, of course, was a feast for us.
November 1942. Rommel's Panzer Army meets disaster at El Alamein. The Germans withdraw 2,500 kilometers west to Tunisia, only to be faced by an Allied force advancing across the mountains. The rookie Americans roll into an ambush at Faid Pass. The German panzers advance up the pass and take up new positions at Sidi Bouzid, where the Americans launch their Shermans in another reckless counterattack.
We're aware that the odds are against us from past experience. We're aware of that. No question. We don't feel, we just do our duty and follow orders.
The Americans started to attack us in huge formation, like they always do.
I'm sure they're not all that warm,
That,
but I
of
don't want
course,
to lift the
was a
fucking
feast
head
for
again.
us.
My goddamn back hurts.
The show of
So I'm
force, the
just blanket
Shermans
on so I
attack
don't
at
have
full
to get out
front,
again.
and with all guns blazing in a classic V formation. They charge blindly down the pass, kicking up such an immense cloud of dust they can see nothing to either side of them, including the two panzer divisions which are lying in ambush. It's a textbook cavalry charge, but it's a textbook that was written before the war, and a tactic that is hopelessly out of date against the battle-hardened panzers.
Aber Sie haben natürlich nicht
They didn't know there were two German tank companies hiding.
versteckt sich befanden.
They didn't know that, of course. I have to say that this was their excuse. We had discussed on the radio that we let the Americans approach as much as possible. I believe the first American tank had approached at a distance of 300 meters, and then the first shot was fired. And so began the Battle of Sidi Bouzid.
Es waren ja so viele da.
There were so many that we didn't have time to discuss who is targeting which tank.
Den Panzer nicht, den Panzer.
The German Panzer IV is one of the most powerful tanks on the battlefield. At a range of 2 kilometers, its 75mm long-barreled gun can punch through a Sherman's armor plating. At a fraction of that distance, it will blow a Sherman tank to pieces.
It was a gun with an unbelievable speed.
Our shells would go on a thing like the trajectory, but the Germans went right straight through.
Auf 1000 Meter.
At a range of 1,000 meters, you had to aim only about 10 centimeters higher. Other than that, you could just use it as it was, because it shot the shells at a very high speed.
Geschwindigkeit gehabt hat. Wir haben dann also einen nach dem
We managed to destroy one American tank after the other in front of us.
vernichtet. Die aber sich
But of course, they fired as well.
I wouldn't say we were blind firing. Some of it might have been, but the majority of it we tried to have a target in mind.
I had to duck my head a couple of times, but they never hit us.
aber getroffen haben die nicht. Und dann
The American tanks that were following further behind saw what was happening and obviously didn't think they had a chance
wollten
and tried to escape towards the north.
sich absetzen. Wir fuhren dann also auch Richtung Norden,
We drove north as well to cut off the retreating Americans.
den Weg abzuschneiden. Und dann
And then there was a duel between the German tanks, which lasted for just a matter of minutes. Everybody just shot until there was no tank left, until all of them had been destroyed. The last tank was maybe 2 kilometers away, but I was able to take down this one as well. In Sidi Bouzid, we took out at least 45 to 60 Shermans. Our casualties were 0.
Unsere Verluste waren 0. Nicht ein einziger Panzer.
The Shermans had shot not a single tank of ours.
Abgeschossen.
And it was a scary scene to see all these burning tanks in a small area.
Relativ kleinen Areal.
Two times in 2 weeks, the inexperience of the Americans has been exposed. And more than 100 tanks lost. With his enemy on the ropes, Rommel comes up with a daring new plan. To drive a stake straight through the heart of the American position and eliminate them once and for all. Tunisia, February 1943. Tanks of the U.S. 1st Armored Division charge blindly down the pass at Sidi Bouzid. For the Americans, it's a disaster. For German Field Marshal Erwin Rommel, it's an invitation to finish them off for good.
The American command appeared to be getting jittery, and they were showing the lack of decision typical of men commanding for the first time in a difficult situation. Beginners lack the nerve. I wanted to push forward with all our strength and strike on deep into the Allied rear.
Rommel's plan, codenamed Operation Stormtide, is a 3-pronged panzer onslaught through the mountain passes. And at the epicenter of the battle is a name that will become infamous in the annals of American armored warfare.
Catherine Pass.
Kasserine.
These are the hills of tanks. My name is Ali Ammar, and I remember the war. Here in this place, there are a lot of dead bodies. This is my land, and every year we find bodies. The Germans were over there, and the Americans were there. This land is where the battle took place. This mountain was the most important place during the battle.
February 1943. It's a battle the Americans are not prepared for. Their defenses around Kasserine are overstretched and thinly deployed. Their heavy armor is poorly dug in on the rocky terrain. And C Company of the 805th Tank Destroyer Battalion holds the high ground to the north.
We was holding the pass. You might say we wasn't scared, because up until that time we really hadn't had too much conflict. While up in that area, it was pretty quiet. But we never knew when something would happen.
At first light, the German panzers make their move, and Rommel himself is at the front, spearheading the attack.
It was a short and precise order. Follow me, and further orders will follow later. Short and sweet. Of course, I said, yes, Field Marshal, sir.
They were so close, I'll never forget that. As far as the naked eye could see to the right or left, bumper to bumper. We thought, oh my God, what's going to happen to our boys?
They looked at us with surprise, because they didn't expect to see Germans here at all. It was an unusually rapid advance, for sure.
When we saw them, I'll tell you, it put the fear in you right off the bat.
It was my task to scout the area with my binoculars from the turret for enemies inside. Then I told my gunner, turret at 12:30. Then to my loader, load the armor-piercing shell. Range 500 meters. Tank at 12:30. Fire at will. Automatically, charging gunner will reload with another shell. This was all a matter of a couple of seconds.
Oh my. It made us all open our eyes and wonder what was going to happen next.
American tank at 2 o'clock. Armor piercing. Fire at will. We saw a darting flame. He had hit the tank, and it was burning right away. On the left side, we suddenly saw 8 American Sherman tanks. Right away, we took position. Although they were shooting as well, they didn't hit us. We shot better.
You're scared, but you're only thinking of one thing, is survival. So we had several of the guns set up, start shooting down the Germans.
The M3 half-track, equipped with a rear-mounted 75mm cannon, is designed as a tank destroyer. Lightly protected, with just 16mm of rolled face-hardened steel, its only means of defense is to attack.
.75 would hit the German tanks, and it was almost like taking a match, striking it. 75 would hit their armor, and it would just ricochet right off. We couldn't penetrate. And hope you're doing the right thing and doing it as fast as you can.
Outgunned and outnumbered, C Company is cornered with its back to the mountain. The tank destroyers are about to become the destroyed.
The enemy was real close to us. We was all wondering what to do next. All we could see is that steep mountain. We were more or less trapped.
February 1943, the Battle of Kasserine. A German tank inferno rages through the mountain pass, and the American defenses are consumed by fire.
When we we saw them, I'll tell you, it put the fear in you right off the bat.
American tank at 2 o'clock. Armor piercing. Fire at will.
Oh my God. It made us all open our eyes and wonder what was going to happen next.
C Company of the 805th U.S. Tank Destroyer Battalion is trapped, caught between the mountain and Rommel's unstoppable panzers.
The enemy was real close to us. We were more or less prepped. And all of a sudden, planes came over, and we thought, oh my gosh, now we're really going to be in it. We thought that was the end. Thinking it was German planes. It was going to be Custer's last stand.
Right.
And all of a sudden, we realized they was Americans. That they started to strafe the Germans, and they swung up over us. And when they did, they
P-38
had their
Lightning.
wings rocked back and forth and followed one another over the top of this mountain. Somebody said that they're trying to show us that we can get up over that and get down over the other side. There's a pass up there, so just follow that, and we can get out of this position. So then we immediately started, everybody going, get over the hill. You could see it looked impossible, but some of us made it, some didn't.
Over the next 3 days, the Americans retreat over 100 kilometers. With more than 6,000 casualties and the loss of more than 200 of their armored vehicles, it's another defeat for the inexperienced and overconfident Americans.
Yup,
Commanding
getting beat
officers
like it's store
were not
something.
knowledgeable. They didn't have the experience either that was required against superior forces.
But despite the victory at Kasserine Pass, Rommel's position is still perilous. His enemies are on all sides. With the Americans reeling to the west, he turns his attention to the British 8th Army in the east. And on March 6th, he spearheads another shock attack, this time through the desert at Medellin.
Fuhren von unserem Pass.
We drove from the pass through the desert at high speed, creating a huge dust cloud behind us so that you couldn't see anything behind us.
Etwa 150.
About 150 tanks were supposed to push the British 8th Army back towards the sea and destroy them.
Und dort eben von uns gefangen genommen zu werden.
But Rommel's luck has run out. British intelligence intercepts his orders, and 500 guns are waiting for him.
Yeah, it's more than a couple.
Non-stop shells hitting in the front, the back, to the left, to the right. Next to me, approximately 15 meters away, there was a sergeant with his tank, and he got a direct hit in the turret.
Ein Volltreffer, der Volltreffer oben im Turm. Ich sah, wie also bereits Feuer aus.
Right away, I saw flames coming out of the turret, and him sitting up, trying to jump out, but then collapsing.
Aus dem Panzer, das gelang ihm nicht, dann sackte er nach unten. Dann war vor mir
In front of me was company commander von Schlieffen, and he got a direct hit as well.
kam also auch Volltreffer.
Blinded by the sand, the German panzers are sitting ducks, unable to engage the enemy because they have no idea where the enemy is.
In these 4 hours, all I could see was sand, 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 spraying on all sides.
Sand aufspritzen, Sand nach allen Seiten.
You couldn't see to the left, nor right, nor front. You couldn't see anything at all.
Nicht möglich. nur aufspitzen.
Just sand spraying around that blocks the view entirely.
Wir standen.
We were standing there. It didn't make sense to go anywhere. I was standing on the same spot for 4 hours and always hoping not to get hit by a shell.
Die Rommelkiste,
And Rommel's tank got hit as well.
ein Treffer. Das
It had begun all of a sudden and it stopped all of a sudden at 12 p.m.
weil ein
As we figured later, 55 of the 150 tanks, 1/3, had been destroyed.
Verschossen auf dieser Pläne.
It was a disaster for Rommel.
Das war der
This was Rommel's last battle in Africa.
Afrika.
3 days later, Rommel is secretly recalled by Hitler to Germany for medical treatment, leaving the Germans bereft of their inspirational leader just when they need him most. Defeated by the British in the desert, their only escape route lies through the mountain passes to the west. But the U.S. forces have regrouped. In Rommel's absence, they've reoccupied the Kasserine Pass. And now they have a new leader. Brash and outspoken, General George Patton has taken charge. And where he leads, he expects his men to follow.
He told us, which made us kind of laugh, we as men from Mars have no fear of anything. You're in good hands, and you'll come out of this on top.
A confident boast by a confident general, whose mettle is about to be tested in the crucible of battle. February 1943. The Allied and German tankers fight for supremacy in the killing zone of Tunisia. Humiliated by one defeat after another, the Americans are put under the command of General George Patton. His task? Transform an army that retreats into one that will stand up and fight.
Patton would be right there, hollering, go get them sons of bees, you know. We felt if we had a man that had that much guts, well, we had better have some nerve too. So that gave us a lot more confidence in ourselves, knowing that he depended on us.
A reinvigorated American force reoccupies the mountain passes, tightening the noose around the German panzers and blocking their escape route at El Ghoutar. Here, Patton draws a line in the sand, beyond which the Americans will retreat no more. Learning the grim lessons of Faid and Sidi Bouzid, Patton sets his own trap, and his troops dig themselves into the hard and rocky ground along either side of the pass.
This one is a leftover from a gun. You can find these all over the land. This one is also a leftover from a weapon. This is my land. I was 10 years old and I remember it all.
لهم فرصة كيفاش باش ما يشوفوهمش هربوا. ايش نقول لك؟ بالنسبة للألمان في الجبل هذاك من نخ الجبل حتى للبقعة العالية دي.
The Germans came up the pass.
الشيرة هذه الكل. ومن جهة أمريكا من الجبل هذا.
The Americans were in the mountains.
حتى لآخره كل أمريكا الشيرة هذه الكل تمشي من هنا حتى القطار. تسمع فيه حتى كيفاش يمشي.
I remember the voice of the planes, the weapons.
قوة كبيرة معنا حتى الوقار يتصدع. هاك الشيرة هذه حتى لهنا.
This is the land of war.
هاك هاو.
March 23rd, 1943. The Germans advance up the pass at El Gatar, and this time, Patton's tank destroyers are ready for them.
We had 36 of them guarding that pass. Our recon went out and bumped into the Germans. I counted 75 German tanks coming at us across the desert. They were moving real slow. They knew we were there. They were in no hurry. They just kept coming. It looked like they were on a parade ground.
It's a calculated gamble by the Germans. The Panzers are an iron fortress, moving at just 5 kilometers per hour down the middle of the pass. Their plan is to use their heavy armor like a blunt instrument to bludgeon straight past the American lines on either side.
As long as we were below the top of the ridge, we couldn't shoot. So you'd pull up, shoot, back down. Pull up, shoot, back down. Wasn't any problem knowing where the targets were. They were out there.
When you're on higher ground shooting down, it's a big advantage over somebody shooting up at you.
I'd pull up as quick as I could and stop. And by the time I stopped, the gunner had his target and fired.
The only place that you could do them any damage was hit within the tracks. If you could hit in there, you disabled them so they couldn't maneuver.
When you're in combat, first of all, you don't think about the possibility of being killed. You need to focus on achieving the target.
Under withering fire, the German formation holds firm. Resolute and relentless, it inches towards its goal.
I'm not being arrogant, but let's face it, we were valiant. We were an elite troop, weren't we?
March 23rd, 1943. In the decisive Battle of the North African Campaign, the German panzers advance up the pass at El Gatar. But for the first time in the campaign, the U.S. force refuses to give an inch. And over 12 torrid hours, they slug it out with the Germans.
It's either going to be them or us, one or the other. You just got to hope you're doing the right thing and doing it as fast as you can.
Got it hard on the driver. He's sitting up not too far from the end of the barrel. so that's why I don't hear too well now.
We were terribly frightened. Every soldier would have this nervous feeling in his guts and would shit his pants.
One of the things you had to admire about the German soldier was we knock out a tank. And the crewmen, if they weren't hurt, they would take their machine gun off the tank, ground mount it, and lay there and keep shooting.
Twice in the course of the day, the panzers advance up the pass, and twice the tank destroyers of the 805th Battalion hold firm. The losses on both sides are immense. By day's end, 21 tank destroyers and 31 panzers lie burning across the plain. But the battlefield belongs to Patton, and the exhausted Panzer Force now has nowhere left to turn.
And that was the end. After we had run out of ammunition and gas, there was nothing else to do but give up.
Da blieb nichts mehr übrig, als aufzugeben. Das war dann am 13.
And that happened on May 13, 1943.
More than 250,000 German troops in Tunisia surrendered to the Allied forces.
The feeling was horror about being captured, of course. There's nothing worse that can happen to a soldier.
Until today, we are still proud to have been part of the Africa Corps.
El Guitar is the Americans' first armored victory of the war. No more will their battle-scarred tankers be seen as the Allies' weakest link. But that success has come at a price.
No, I didn't think it would be a breeze. You know, actual combat is never a breeze.
It's either going to be them or us, one or the other, so you get scared. We say you can't help it if you got anything about you, it's human.
It's part of, I think, warfare that you've got to accept the fact that you're going to have casualties, that some of your best friends might not survive.
The Battle of Tunisia is the closing chapter in the story of Rommel's Africa Corps. But for Patton and his battle-hardened tankers, it is the beginning of a journey that will ultimately lead to victory in Europe. Michael Wittmann is the most famous tank commander of the Third Reich.
He was the most decorated German tank ace of the war.
At Kursk, the greatest tank battle in history, he spearheads the attack.
He just accumulated kill after kill.
In Normandy, Wittmann single-handedly halts an Allied advance.
One German tank was able to knock out so many British tanks in a matter of a few minutes.
Wittmann's final battle turns him into a Nazi legend.
It was almost suicidal for the Germans to mount that attack.
Even though it's been 60 years after Wittmann's death, his legacy, his mystique maintains.
Lacam German Military Cemetery, Normandy, France. 21,000 graves. A monument to the death of the German army in Normandy and to the downfall of Adolf Hitler's reviled Third Reich. And yet amongst the rows of unadorned gravestones, there is one man's grave that is always honored with fresh flowers. His name, Michael Whitman. Whitman is considered the greatest tank ace of all time.
He was the ace of aces, many people say, but he was a very quiet, likable man. He wasn't your typical Nazi.
Most tank commanders weren't personally decorated by Hitler, but most didn't quite stand out with the number of kills that Whitman did. Whitman's mentality was aggressive, motivated, disciplined, kind of encapsulates the Panzer arm of World War II into a person.
Whitman died here in the fields of Normandy. But his legend began in the fields of Bavaria. Born in 1914 on a farm south of Nuremberg, Whitman was a country boy living the healthy outdoor life. At 19, Whitman is drafted into the army for compulsory service, as all young men are in the Germany of Adolf Hitler. In 1937, after completing his service, Michael Whitman, aged 23, eagerly volunteers for Hitler's personal bodyguard, the Leibstandarte, SS Adolf Hitler.
It's an elite unit. They were in parades. They were very regimented. They would have been handpicked personnel. They would have had certain height and physical fitness requirements, a certain look. He's not only a volunteer, but he's seemingly politically indoctrinated to want to be part of this unit.
I swear to thee, Adolf Hitler, as Führer and Chancellor of the German Reich, loyalty and bravery. I vow to thee obedience unto death.
Being the honor guard, I'm sure it was very appealing to somebody in their early 20s. With the black uniforms and the smart look and the whole elite quality about them.
Michael Whitman embraces absolute loyalty to Adolf Hitler and his policy of persecution of the Jews. And to his program of conquest and expansion of the Third Reich. But in September 1939, Hitler invades Poland, triggering the Second World War. Now, for Whitman and his generation of young Nazis, the parades are over and the fighting begins. Because of his excellence as a driver, Whitman is given command of a reconnaissance vehicle. By early summer 1941, the Nazis are the masters of Europe. But for Adolf Hitler, the real prize lies to the east, the Soviet Empire. Vast spaces for the master race to conquer and colonize. June 22nd, 1941, Hitler invades the Soviet Union. Codename Operation Barbarossa. 3 million German soldiers, led by 3,600 tanks, plunge into the Soviet Union. Against the Germans, the Soviets mobilize 2.9 million men and 20,000 tanks. Despite their superior numbers, the Soviets are quickly overwhelmed by the speed and skill of the German panzers. Michael Whitman's reconnaissance unit races over the Soviet frontier with the Leibstandarte, part of the leading armored force.
Hitler's armored divisions were important in the fact that they were the ones that were spearheading the advances. The whole mentality of the tank force was always keep moving.
Whitman and the Leibstandarte are now part of the notorious Waffen-SS.
The Waffen-SS had a few premier divisions, Leibstandarte being one of them, that maintained its elite status throughout the war.
As the Panzers slash hundreds of kilometers through Russian defenses, millions of prisoners are taken.
The Waffen-SS does have a reputation for committing atrocities on the Eastern Front.
Over 3 million will be shot or starved to death. 3 weeks after the invasion, the Leibstandarte is closing in on the Ukrainian capital, Kiev. At the forefront is Reconnaissance Sergeant Michael Whitman. July 12, 1941. The Panzers advance over hilly, wooded country. As they near the city of Zhytomyr, 200 kilometers southwest of Kiev, the Soviets counterattack. Dozens of Soviet T-34 tanks bear down on the Leibstandarte. The T-34 has been a shock for the Germans. Weighing 26 tons, the T-34 is heavily armored with sloping sides to deflect shells. Armed with a powerful 76.2 millimeter gun, it is better than anything the Germans can field. Whitman is ordered to reconnoiter the enemy forces in a Sturmgeschütz 3 or Stug.
Whitman drove his Sturmgeschütz to high ground to try to locate the Soviets. He spotted 2 groups of Soviet T-34 tanks, 6 coming from northeast and another 12 from the east. That meant 18 T-34s against Whitman's single assault gun. It was no match. Whitman had to act quickly to even the odds. He ordered his driver to take the Sturmgeschütz off the high ground.
Whitman has been ordered not to engage the enemy tanks, as the heavier T-34s outgun his Sturmgeschütz 3.
Sturmgeschütz is designed initially to be infantry support. It's not designed to engage other tanks.
Built on the chassis of a Panzer III, the Stug is a turretless assault gun, which means the driver has to swing the whole vehicle around to aim its high-velocity 75mm cannon.
The Sturmgeschütz has a movable cannon of 24 degrees on it. You have to face the enemy straight forward, not from the side. If you see the enemy, you have to turn.
Despite being outnumbered and outmatched by the Russian tanks, Whitman disobeys his orders and attacks the T-34s.
His personality that was mated to the Panzer credo of attack, that would have been the first thing he was looking for, was an opportunity to be preempted.
As the T-34 surged forward towards the crest of the hill, Whitman's only hope was to set up an ambush. It was a direct hit. A second T-34 surged over the hill.
Alright, I am still fucking frozen. I suppose I should see what time it is. Go get myself a damn banana. There we go. fucking burr. See. 10:07. Well, I still got an hour before the store here closes. So, what am I gonna do? I'm gonna go inside. I'm gonna give me a fucking banana, goddammit. I love me some goddamn bananas. What I'm not so fond of is sick shits putting their nasty cock beaters on me. Well, I go park closer to the front.
It went up in flames.
Evening after 10.
A T-34 managed to get a shot at Wittmann and Sturmgeschütz.
T-34s were not as accurate, we thought at least, than ours.
More Russian tanks poured forward. There were just too many. Wittmann headed for cover. He used the assault gun's low profile to hide it in a small wood.
I like this because they're low ceiling. That gave me a feeling being safer.
But facing so many T-34s, there was nowhere for him to hide. Wittmann's drivers swiveled the snoot to bring its gun to bear on the Russian.
Firing would have definitely been an issue because of the inability to track a target via a turret. You would have to maneuver the vehicle.
But again, his gunner scored a direct hit.
With the T-34, the only weak part is between the turret and the body to get right into the crack.
Another T-34 tried to target the thin side armor on the Sturmgeschütz. Wittmann had to turn quickly and fire before the Russian got in a shot.
You hit the tracks if you can. When the tracks burst, of course, he just goes around in a circle.
With his fast maneuvering, Wittmann began to even the odds. Then 3 more enemy tanks attacked. Wittmann opened fire. Only one of the Soviet tanks escaped.
6 of the formidable T-34s destroyed in just a few minutes. Wittmann and his crew stopped the Soviet armored attack. For his actions, Wittmann is awarded the Iron Cross Second Class. Impressed by his exploits, Wittmann's commanders sent him back to Germany to train to become an officer of the SS. Wittmann's career is on the rise. Autumn 1942, Bad Talz, Germany. Michael Wittmann begins his training in Heinrich Himmler's Waffen-SS school. Its aim is to form a new SS military elite, the future leaders of Hitler's Nazi empire. Wittmann graduates as an SS second lieutenant and is soon training on Germany's newest tank, the Tiger. Hitler's answer to the Soviet T-34. It is the most formidable tank in the world. At 100 millimeters, the Tiger's frontal armor is virtually impregnable. Its 88 millimeter gun can cut through a T-34 at over 2 kilometers.
Wir waren uns hier, Leute, waren stolz, haben das beste Gerät, was wir hatten. Es war auch ein guter Panzer und wir waren zum ersten Mal den russischen Panzern haushoch überlegen.
In February 1943, Wittmann is called back to the Russian front as part of the Leibstandart's new Tiger Company. But by the summer, the tide of battle is turning against Germany. Soviet forces surge west, creating a huge bulge protruding into the German lines.
Could be worse. You could be one of them unlucky SOBs who ended up being a battered bastard, Bastogne. Not cool. It's fucking cold. so cold out of here. I think I've become a missus. Oh. Looks like someone might have gotten angry with them. Huh. I'll go let you know.
Yeah.
Looks like somebody
Oh, it's
might
me.
have
I'm a manager.
aggression on you outside the door.
Sorry, what's up?
Looks like somebody might have taken some aggression out of planters outside the door.
Oh, okay.
Pardon?
Can I get a price check on
You
it?
bet.
Couple things knocked out.
Listing form over there.
noticed y'all don't have the half price after 8 sign anymore. Well, I guess you might not ever have it at this one.
Half price after 8 for what?
For
Donuts?
the donuts?
No, we don't have one.
That was probably back in the 80s the last time I checked on that.
Yeah, I don't think they have anything like that here. Can you open the compact that we have?
Welcome. If you have your club card, please key in item code 4011. Weigh your bananas. Please touch accept weight to continue. Move your bananas to the back. 22. If you have your club card, please scan it now. How many did you? Your total is 20. Please insert coins. Then insert bills. Please wait. System processing. Please remember to take your receipt. Thank you. Welcome. If you have your club card, please scan it now. Scan items one at a time, placing them in the bagging area after each scan.
I love it. I love it. That works. Yeah. You work for me. Have a good one, buddy. You too, buddy.
All the places on my food, cigarette, right? could probably hit over the $2 on a pack of rolling papers. That probably work. I'm sick of smoking out that goddamn pipe. Tobacco pipes suck badly.
Yeah, I got 2 left, and I take 1 for me for the way home from work.
I can tell you paid for it.
Wouldn't even think about it. You got a light?
I do. It's a good cigarette too. I am still like a woman. Bam, 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 bam. Yes, ma'am. Oh wow, am I really that? I'll take it.
No, I'm old. Trust me. Been smoking these things for so long. Excuse me.
That's
As
right.
you can tell.
Yeah, I hack and gag and spit and all sorts of nasty
Yeah,
stuff.
me too. But do I still smoke? Yep.
Yep.
It's getting chilly out here.
It is. On the bright side, I got an ugly green car with an ugly gray blanket, and at least, well, the blanket may not be perfect, and it doesn't work all that great, but it's better than nothing. It's a roof over my head, and I'm not freezing like these guys out here getting wet every night with dew.
I know, it's sad.
I'm surprised that raised to a homeless people out here that are actually on drugs. Like most of the other places I've lived, it's just a rumor that everybody out on the streets is on drugs. And out here, I'm like, 9 out of 10 of them are on drugs.
It's not a rumor, it's true. All right, well, my 10 minutes went quick.
Be safe. Thank you for the cancer.
Take care, hon. It's always
Yes,
good
ma'am.
to see you.
So what's the moral of the story here? You hear me trashing on men, right? You hear me trashing on women? Well, I bring people's names out in specific. When you're violent, I'm gonna tell people you're violent. When you're lying, I'm gonna tell people you're lying. When you want me to hold on to a secret, well, you better be sure that secret ain't too important. If keeping your secret is gonna get people killed, I'm not gonna keep your goddamn secret. We're getting ready to close. So, last of the evening shift folks are doing their thing. Hopefully ain't nobody fuck with my car while I've been gone. Holy crap, it's getting cold. The fact that I'm not properly geared up is kind of dumb. Well, it don't look like nothing been fucked with. Holy shit. Got some more stuff up the mountains. A lot more stuff to go get. Obviously, I ain't down with none of this hateful crap that a lot of people got going on here. Obviously, yelling at these idiots for being stupid and not leaving me alone doesn't work. If people want to pull up on me and yell at me without someone to help me turn it in, it's going to happen again and again and again. I can't make people be less shitty. Fucking A, it's cold. Oh. I suppose I'll put up my blinders and we'll listen to some more about Georgia Patton. I used to have friends once, at least I thought I did. Then I hurt my back and realized how wrong I'd been. At the time, it was strange to me because people went from, at the time I thought it went from being my friend to no longer caring once I hurt my back. But the thing is, they just cared before I hurt my back because I was able to do shit for them. You know? A lot of people, when they were angry, wanted to play off a lot of stupid shit. Well, maybe they should have tried understanding why I was angry. Where were my so-called friends when it came to actually making calls to turn in all this evidence? Where were my friends before Natalie was killed? What was their advice? Certainly wasn't good advice. Bananas are fucking grub.
I did see Tyler Crabtree. I can't remember if it was today or yesterday with everything that's been going on, but it was good to see him, even if only in passing. He was one of my personal predators here at one point in time for about a day. And that's all the longer it lasted. Obviously, I mean absolutely no ill will towards any of these folks. But there's also the necessity of what I gotta do. I gotta get y'all to understand that if you just let people keep on doing this to me, I'm gonna keep on having meltdowns. It's not okay for us to have untrained professionals doing the shit human beings. How can we call them professionals if they're not trained? There's a lot of people that have been real nice to me, and that is important to know. None of these people, so far as I can tell, are evil people, although some of them have done some very mean-hearted things. Ted Bollinger is evil. Absolutely. What Sheriff Scott DaCosta did, oh man, he did it repeatedly too. Repeatedly, I was sent to Dual County Sheriff's Department to turn in Dual County Sheriff's Department. And repeatedly, when I tried to turn in Dual County Sheriff's Department to Dual County Sheriff's Department, they retaliated against me for trying to turn in Dual County Sheriff's Department. What did you think was going to happen? Christian Alexander Shero, he's dead. He's one of the people who's down at the Tillamook Sporting Goods parking lot. That whole issue with them youngins. That continues to this day. I try to explain to y'all from experience what this is really like. And you don't get it until it happens to you. You don't get it until it's your sister, your mother, your daughter, your brother, someone that you love and care about that disappears. And nobody cares. People I'm sorry you to death. I haven't seen Jennifer or David since that whole situation. But I did look it up, and I did make sure I verified it. I don't want to be in pain all the time. I say that like it's almost my choice. I know the reality of it. There are a lot of predators like Andrew Wolnez in the world. He did a lot of really screwed up things that he shouldn't have done, and he continues to do them.
Oh, wait, don't let go. Baby, you lied. Baby, you lied. Baby, I love you and your muscles. Push this over there. Baby, my tire's getting lower like the nail.
Well, I guess I better travel on to the next parking lot. Oh, come on, where is it? At least I got my blanket right. $10:47, so they're closed in like 13 minutes anyway.
Near the Russian city of Kursk. Desperate to regain the initiative, Adolf Hitler plans a counteroffensive, Operation Citadel. It will be a two-pronged attack from north and south to chop off the bulge, leaving 500,000 Soviet soldiers cut off and trapped. For the Citadel offensive, the Germans have amassed 780,000 men and 2,500 tanks. To meet the Germans, the Soviets field almost 2 million men and more than 5,000 tanks. The Leibstandarte will be at the front of the southern attack. With them at the spearhead will be Michael Whitman, now commanding a platoon of 5 Tiger tanks. On the eve of battle, Whitman's commander reads out Adolf Hitler's message to the crews.
Soldiers, today you set out on a great offensive, whose result can decisively affect the outcome of the war. My soldiers, now, finally, you have better tanks than the enemy. The German homeland looks to you with ardent confidence.
We just thought we were superior to the Russian tanks. At least we were brainwashed to believe that, which helps to make you feel superior, you know. You know what propaganda does.
July 5th, 1943. At dawn, the Tiger crews wait for their attack to begin.
The order came over the tank radios. Panzers, forward! As we advanced, we were met by a relentless storm of fire. The Russians had prepared line after line of defenses, dug-in T-34s.
Because the T-34 was inferior to the Tiger I, it needed to compensate for its deficiencies. One of the ways was to have pre-dug positions for the vehicles. The incoming round would have to penetrate several feet of dirt to be able to actually get to the vehicle itself.
The Tiger's powerful 88mm gun is able to break through the Russian defenses. While the Russian shells bounce off the Tiger's armor.
Overcoming line after line of Russian defense, Whitman and the Tigers pushed towards their objective. But the Russians continued to throw wave after wave of tanks at our advance. These were all fresh targets for Whitman's gunner. Whitman's tank kept moving, firing as it turned, smashing one T-34 after another.
Knocking out 8 tanks and 12 anti-tank guns, this first day of battle has been a success for Whitman and his elite crew.
Call it zusammengespielt, played together, so that one interacts with the other the right way. The loader, the gunner, the commander, the driver, the radio man. It's a tightly knit group.
July 12th, 1943. The Germans set off to assault the final Soviet defense line before Kursk. Whitman's commander is wounded, and Whitman must take over command of the Leibstandarte's Tiger Company, just as the Battle of Kursk is about to reach its climax. Unknown to the Germans, the Russians are preparing a desperate last-ditch counterattack.
The Germans were on the verge of breaking through into open country, and the Soviets were starting to panic. They were going to throw whatever they had available into the mix.
The Russians send 500 tanks west to attack the German right flank, but the Waffen-SS tanks turn east. These huge tank forces are about to collide near the little town of Prokhorovka. Second Lieutenant Whitman and his crew are ordered to high ground.
In the distance, what seemed like a dust cloud was rising. Suddenly, hundreds of Soviet tanks appeared at the crest of a hill, headed straight towards Whitman. We were in shock. The Soviets were not on the defensive, they were attacking.
Just 1,600 meters from Whitman, more than 100 Soviet tanks are charging towards him over the gently rolling land of the steppe.
It had a number of hills, but it was predominantly open terrain, so the Tiger tank could engage at long distance.
With a well-aimed shot, a Tiger can knock out a T-34 at a distance of 2 kilometers. But the Russian tanks have to get much closer before their guns can have any effect on the Tigers.
Wir gaben im Angriff, man muss sich das so vorstellen, Panzer an Panzer, die große Kette, und auf der anderen Seite kamen die T-34 an.
The T-34s raced towards us, trying to close the deadly gap. They came back into view, now only 800 meters away. The Tigers opened fire.
A lot of tanks in a relatively small area. Something of a shooting gallery from a Tiger 1 commander's perspective.
The T-34s were still not close enough to penetrate the armor of the Tigers, so they had to keep advancing, straight through our barrage. They got to 700 meters. Getting closer. And closer. The Tiger guns were belching fire, but there were too many. They couldn't all be stopped.
В это время немцы уже наступали, немецкие войска. Они были на ходу.
The Russians slam into the SS formation.
Они рассчитывали, что мы в контратаковать это будем, а тут слезнули две массы.
At close range, the German tanks are vulnerable. Whitman's Tigers spring into action. Whitman's gunner fires on the move, again and again.
One of the reasons that Whitman was so successful as a Tiger commander was his ability to fire while moving with the vehicle. And that way they could acquire the target, but they'd get rounds on the target more quickly. Such a technique wasn't normal. In fact, German regulations stressed that the tanks should not fire when on the move. It's basically a waste of ammunition.
But Whitman and his crew have mastered the difficult technique, using it to their advantage.
From Whitman's perspective, Prokhorovka would have just been chaos. It would have had firing at close range.
Whitman's tank is hit
Like
twice.
15 feet. That's pretty close.
Keeps on fighting.
Die Metzel auf beiden Seiten, Panzer auf Panzer.
The battle rages for hours. The Russians take appalling losses.
And they keep on coming.
But they succeed in slowing the German advance.
Бомбила наша авиация, бомбила немецкая. Я думал, что они, наверное, даже цели не бросали бомбы и все.
Kursk is considered one of the greatest tank battles in history because of the numbers of tanks and other armored vehicles involved in a relatively small area.
Our Tiger company had a series of fine successes. Over the whole Citadel Kursk battle, we destroyed 151 enemy tanks.
Out of
Despite the
5,000.
success of the Tiger units, the ferocious Russian defenses has stopped Hitler's offensive. The Germans have lost the decisive tank battle on the Eastern Front. From now on, Michael Whitman will be fighting for his and for Nazi Germany's survival.
Yep. And that ended
In its
quickly.
third winter on the Eastern Front, the German army is in full retreat. The Russians have pushed them 500 kilometers from Kursk back into the Ukraine. Michael Whitman's Tiger unit is fighting a series of desperate rearguard actions.
Tiger units would have been sent from one sector of the front to the other to try and plug gaps that had been opened up by Soviet armored forces and attempted to blunt them so that way German forces can continue their retreat to the west.
The rapid Russian advance leaves the Soviet supply lines stretched dangerously thin, making supply convoys a vital necessity. December 6, 1943. Whitman and his unit, now designated the 101st SS Heavy Panzer Battalion, are poised to attack a Soviet supply convoy near the town of Brusilov. But between the convoy and the Tigers are batteries of Russian anti-tank guns. The Soviet 76.2 millimeter divisional gun is a tank killer. It can smash through a Tiger's
One thing
side
that's
armor
often
at a distance
overlooked
of nearly 1,000 meters and wreck its tracks.
is the number of units that were renamed.
To kill these anti-tank batteries, Whitman's tactic is to play a dangerous game, using himself and his tank as bait.
Made it seem like there was more divisions than there were.
He was tempting the Russian gunners to fire at him. They took the bait, but now the gunners had revealed their positions. Under heavy fire, Whitman quickly retreated. Then our Tigers raced at the anti-tank guns from their blind spot, charging straight at them before the Russians could turn the guns around.
Whitman's tactic has worked. The anti-tank batteries are now a smoking wreck. But his Tiger reveals just how dangerous Whitman's game can be.
We counted a total of 28 hits on the Tiger. Some of them were smaller, of course. There were also some big enough to easily put one's fist into.
With the anti-tank batteries eliminated, Whitman races towards the supply road. He drives into cover to observe the road, and he spots a convoy. Though he's heavily outnumbered, Whitman decides to attack on his own.
Whitman would have been trying to make the best of a bad situation. He would have been increasingly reckless due to necessity in engaging enemy targets.
Like a wolf attacking its prey, he quickly knocks out the lead tank and the rear tank, leaving the convoy trapped on the road at his mercy.
Mike Stellick typed hello. Hello, Mike. I'm sorry I didn't see you there. Seems to me you're not watching anymore, which is actually fine. Too bad. I was going to ask you some questions about if you'd been able to get a hold of anybody. But that's the way life goes, isn't it? Well, it's Friday night. These youngins are typically out until 2 or 3 in the morning, sometimes 4 or longer. So I should probably keep this recording all night for my safety. I'm really sick of this shit. Obviously, the cops are so corrupt here, there's no possible way to get them to do their job if it's just me. And people just don't take it seriously. You know, when somebody else is being harmed, they tend to just ignore it. Or believe that ignoring it fixes it, and it don't. It just gets us fucking killed out here. Not that anybody out here gives a shit either. You get to see the addicts out here, 9 out of 10 of them, I'd say, are probably fucked up on drugs. Trying to live up to a stereotype. But what else do they have to live for? That's a question none of y'all want to ask. Anyway, you get to hear how these assholes decide that it's okay for them to harm me. You also get to hear how the police treat me when I try to turn stuff in. They don't fucking care about me as a human being, and that's the problem, is I need you guys to take it seriously. I need you to take it as a fucking emergency, because it is. There's a lot of people who are dead because I wasn't fucking heard. There's also the fact that the government, well, rather their officials, have gotten to spend literally millions of dollars to prevent me from showing evidence. Locking me up repeatedly for crimes that were not committed. Crimes that certainly weren't committed by me. But it didn't matter. They were going to let these people do whatever they wanted whenever they wanted. The police officers had committed enough crimes by the time Natalie was dead that they knew they were fucked if anybody listened to me. Not that it mattered, nobody gave a fuck. And they still don't.